All right, everybody. This is your host, Shenga. Another lovely day here in Houston, Texas. This is SG2 on Space, episode number 31. As always, I'm gonna typically, actually, thank you, Action One Media Group. You can see it right behind us. I am currently at Action One Media Group's Action One Media's studio here on the southwest side of town. So follow us, facebook.com/ActionOneMedia, as well as obviously the YouTube channel. All right, so find the associate YouTube channel. My YouTube channel, where you can see this, is youtube.com/CAST725, as well as it's all connected to Facebook. So facebook.com/TheShenShow, THE Shen, SHEN, and then SHOW, since that used to be the name and I can't change it. So that's what it is. So today, I figured there's a lot of new announcements about lunar initiatives and all that jazz. So for instance, Project Artemis. Let's start out with some special announcements. All right. So Project Artemis, NASA, blah blah blah. Wants to put humans on the lunar surface. Originally by 2028, but now past March, was that 2 months ago? Mike Pence, VP. Remember, if you watched a few episodes before, there was one where I talked about how he had a live speech saying, nope, we got to get there 4 years earlier, by 2024. So even more rush schedule, right? So this obviously accelerated schedule presents risks to NASA, and NASA had to submit another new budget requesting more money. And are we able to do this? That is a question, right? So, well, our NASA administrator, Jim Bridenstine, earlier this week actually gave a talk, like a little workshop talk about what he thinks, and I figured we'll play a little clip from it. So this, as soon as we're ready, we'll play a little clip from what Jim Bridenstine said on what is it, like a few days ago, about the new NASA budget. So on May 14th, he said it in a town hall address. While we're getting that ready, essentially, one important thing he said was the fact that due to the earlier shift in time, it's actually more timely, since you don't have to go through the political change, which could change the direction of NASA policy again, right? So if we finish by 2024, assuming this administration continues, then ideally we have human boots on the ground by 2024. So, all right. So let's hear it.
As you know, the President has given our agency the bold charge to land the next man and the first woman on the lunar South Pole by 2024. And now President Trump has extended his vote of confidence in our work with an amended budget request for fiscal year 2020. It includes $1.6 billion in additional funding. This investment is a down payment on NASA's efforts and will allow us to move forward with design, development, and exploration. Among other things, it will allow us to accelerate our development of the Space Launch System and Orion. It will support the development of a human lunar landing system, and it will support precursor capabilities on the lunar surface, including increased robotic exploration of the moon's polar regions. While there are many steps ahead in the budget and appropriations process, all of us at NASA should be very proud and excited by this unique opportunity. Our efforts will include new work at NASA centers to provide the key technologies and scientific payloads needed for the Gateway and lunar surface, adding to efforts that are already underway all across our country. Additionally, we envision strong commercial partnerships that will help increase innovation and reduce costs to the American taxpayer. I challenge you, the NASA family, to share with your family and friends how for 60 years, investment in our agency has improved the human condition through science, exploration, and innovation. Exploring the moon is the next step in our agency's story, and it will be to the benefit of all of us. We are at a moment of opportunity together. Thank you for your dedication to our mission and pressing in on the hard work that is moving us forward to the moon and on to Mars. We are going.
Right. So that was, the riveting 2-minute pep talk, let's just say, by Jim Bernstein. I guess the most important thing is that we're requesting $1.6 billion added. So that'd be cool. Assuming we get that. I mean, I feel like if we're gonna hit the target, we definitely need some money. So we shall see. Now, here's the other cool part. NASA's not doing it alone. NASA, in fact, has recently awarded a bunch of companies, and this just came out on May 16th, which, if you're listening to the show for the first time, is today. So what this is an initiative called Next Space Technologies for Exploration Partnerships. It's the next step. So these contracts, they are for a total of $45.5 million, and these are awarded to companies to study and/or develop prototypes during the next 6 months that will reduce schedule risk for the descent, transfer, and refueling elements of a potential human landing system on the moon. All right? So this basically includes a transport element for the journey from the Lunar Gateway, which, by the way, is a space station that's going to orbit the moon, from the Lunar Gateway to low lunar orbit, so that's 1, a descent element to carry them to surface, that's 2, and an ascent element to return to the Gateway, that's number 3. So the agency also is looking at refueling capabilities to make these systems reusable. So wonderful opportunities here for these companies, right? So $45.5 million. Now, note that this is a public/private partnership program, so companies are required to contribute at least 20% of the total project cost, okay? So, so who are the awardees? So there's some heavy hitters, that's for sure, and some other ones I haven't, heard as much, but most of them seems pretty large or well-known. There's Aerojet Rocketdyne. Okay, that's one. There's Blue Origin, which I will talk about shortly because they have an initiative of their own. There's Boeing, which is here in Houston. That's apparently the only one in Houston that won this. That's cool. Dynetics in Huntsville, Alabama. Lockheed Martin in Littleton, Colorado. Maston Space Systems in Mojave, California. Northrop Grumman Innovation Systems, NGIS, in Dulles, Virginia. I believe that used to be Orbital ATK until Northrop Grumman bought them out, and then basically stuck them in this division, so to say. Orbit Beyond in Edison, New Jersey. Sierra Nevada Corporation in Louisville, Colorado, and Madison, Wisconsin. SpaceX in Hawthorne, California. And SSL, which is Space Systems L'Oreal, unless I'm mistaken. That's in Palo Alto, California. So, to speed up the work, NASA's invoking these contract actions, which allows the agency to authorize these commercial partners to start a portion of the work while negotiating the rest of the contract award. So both is happening at the same time, right? So things can really push ahead. So we want to get there by 2024, which is a pretty ambitious timeline, let's just say. So, any case, aside from that, there's going to be a formal solicitation to be issued this summer, so 2019, this summer, that's going to provide the requirements for a 2024 human landing. and then pretty much leaving it to the commercial companies to develop, the actual concept. So NASA is saying, hey, we just need you, we need a way to get to the moon, humans, right, and then come back to the gateway, all right? So I'm assuming we have a space station around the moon, so you guys go do it. So they have very flexible leeway. NASA's not telling these companies what technologies to use or what you have to do. It's just very high level. These are the requirements, right? Which is cool, since you can come up with all sorts of new ideas. So, in any case, one of the companies in particular I would like to bring up is Blue Origin. Now, I would like to play a clip from them, but I think we're going to have to wait until we come back from break. But suffice it to say, just a brief background, Blue Origin, as noted, is founded by Amazon executive founder Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world. So they really don't need NASA money. I mean, he's dumping millions of his own money in there every year. But they have recently unveiled this thing called Big Blue that is pretty much a lander, their lander. Sorry, it's called Blue Moon. Okay, when we come back, we will definitely talk more about it, and you can watch a little short clip in his very wonderful exhibition recently.
Put your money where your community is. Get in the action at weareA1.com.
Man, you still here? Go on and subscribe.
Get in action. Yo, we back at it again, baby.
What?
Get in action.
3.
Get in action.
Tell me what is the deal, tell me what is the deal.
So I challenge you today to start strong.
Get in the action.
Tell me what is the deal. Cause I'm calling for you.
Get in the action.
Can you feel that? See, I'm calling for you. Can you feel that? See, I'm calling for you. Can you feel that? See, I'm calling for you. Say how you really.
All right, and here we are. We are back. You are listening to SG2 on Space, episode number 31. This episode, like I said, is all about the moon because there's, with a few exceptions, of course. When I talk about the science, it's not about the moon. But here we're talking about the moon, right? So, as noted, NASA budget increases, proposed to increase $1.6 billion. We want to get humans back on the moon by 2024. Let's see, NASA recently gave out, in fact, May 16th, $45.5 million to 8 different companies for initial conceptual study of lunar lander and ascent back and refueling as well. So conceptual studies. And then before we went on break, I was going to talk about Blue Origin's Big Blue. So I think the CEO and founder, Jeff Bezos, also the billionaire founder of Amazon, have some good words here. So what we're going to do is might as well hear him talk. He gave this little talk earlier this week to wide applause, I will say, and you will see why. So let's go.
Gravity than Earth. When you get resources from the moon, you can get them into free space at very low cost. It takes 24 times less energy to lift a pound off the moon than it does to lift a pound off the Earth. That is a huge lever. But guess what? The moon also needs infrastructure. Let me show you something. This is Blue Moon. We've been working on this lander for 3 years. It's a very large lander. It'll soft land in precise way 3.6 metric tons onto the lunar surface. The stretch tank variant of it will soft land 6.5 metric tons onto the lunar surface. Let me give you a little tour. The deck is designed to be a very simple interface so that a great variety of payloads can be placed onto the top deck and secured. And the davit system, which is inspired by naval systems, you can see it over here, is what's used to lower things off of the deck onto the surface of the moon. And the davits can be customized for the particular payloads. We have here as an example a very large rover. And by the way, even though that's a large rover, this vehicle can land 4 of them simultaneously on the surface of the moon. And if you go ahead and go back up on the deck again, let me show you a couple more things up there, some features. On the left-hand side, you can see our star tracker, so that this vehicle can autonomously navigate in space. There it is. On the right-hand side, you'll see an optical communication system that gives us gigabit bandwidth back to Earth. It's a laser that transmits data back to Earth. We also have X-band for 10 megabit radio. Let's keep going with the tour. Liquid hydrogen. Why are we using liquid hydrogen? This is not how Apollo did it. Why are we using liquid hydrogen as our fuel? A couple of reasons. One, it's very high performance, and so that helps a lot when you're landing on the moon. That's that after you've got to carry all of your propellant to the moon. Second reason we're using liquid hydrogen is because ultimately we're going to be able to get hydrogen from that water on the moon and be able to refuel these vehicles on the surface of the moon and use them. So liquid hydrogen is an excellent choice for fuel for the moon. And we use it 3 ways on this vehicle. And it's very interesting. The liquid hydrogen, of course, is the fuel for the descent engine, so it powers the descent. But we also use the boil off.
All right, guys. So essentially, the whole talk was about an hour long. And from this, there's more details following this, right? So probably about 20 minutes more. The first half hour was more the inspirational talk, But I would highly recommend you guys to watch it, and I will share this on the site as well as the Facebook page. So yeah, Jeff Bezos, very inspiring man. So now, Blue Moon, notably, they did not say explicitly, hey, we're doing this because we want to, fulfill NASA's objective. But if you notice, if you go to the website, they do say that. They say that Blue Moon has been designed to land an ascent vehicle that will allow us to return Americans to the moon by 2024. All right. So now, given that they're a commercial entity, I don't think they would just limit themselves to Americans. But hey, I think the first ones on that vehicle probably be Americans, given the fact that they are actually one of the participants, awardees for the NASA conceptual design contract proposal. But anyways, so NASA has not yet selected a lander. So there, like I said, there were 8 companies that were there, right? That were chosen by NASA to pursue studies. But Blue Moon could be a contender. I mean, Lockheed Martin has revealed proposed plans to build a lunar lander. But hey, I think the more the merrier. So you got to give NASA multiple options, right? So, all right. So with that, let's jump into something like way out there. How about it? Because we can talk about all these space entrepreneurs, and really, I will get back to some of the space entrepreneurs, but I want to, for the moment, take us out beyond. So this week, a huge thing was the fact that we may have just seen dark matter at work. Okay, so there's apparently some kind of dark impactor blasting holes in our galaxy, which sounds fairly intense until you realize you can't see it, which actually makes it even creepier because you can't see it, right? So what could this thing be? So what happened here? Well, according to Anna Bonica, Bonaca, a researcher at the Harvard Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics, she's the one who discovered this, by the way. So what happened is that she noticed there's holes in our galaxy's stellar stream, longest stellar stream. So one of our galaxy's stellar stream is called GD-1. All right, and what are stellar streams? That sounds beautiful, but what are they? Stellar streams are lines of stars moving together across galaxies, often originating in smaller blobs of stars that collided with the galaxy in question. So the stars in GD-1, are remnants of a globular cluster that basically plunged into the Milky Way a long time ago and then stretched down a long line across our sky, right? So, under normal conditions, the stream should be about a single line stretched by the galaxy's gravity. However, Bonica showed that GD1 has a second gap. All right. Oh, let me clarify. So, it's supposed to be that it only has one gap because there's a point where the original globular cluster was before stars drift away into two directions, right? So there would be a gap. So imagine you have a globular cluster, which is a giant cluster of stars, okay? Imagine a spherical shape. Then it basically, imagine them going two different directions, the stars, forming two star lines. All right, so that should be only one gap. But however, there's two gaps. And the second gap has a ragged edge, all right? A region that Bonica calls GD1 spur. So it seems like something huge plunged through the stream pretty recently, and it drags stars in its wake with this enormous gravity. So it's kind of like your boat, like there's waves, right? And then your boat goes across and generates a bunch of waves, right, from the back. So it's like, huh, what is going on here? So it's very mysterious because it's much more massive than a star. It's like 1,000,000 times the mass of the sun. There's no stars that mass. If it is a black hole, it would have to be a supermassive black hole of the kind that we find in the center of our galaxy. That doesn't seem too likely, right? Because if it does, hopefully it would have identified like flares or radiation from its center, since black holes, even black holes are not completely black. They do emit radiation. And so what exactly is this? So there's nothing glowing, nothing's shining. So it's humongous. It's 10 to 20 parsecs across, which is 30 to 65 light years, which is a really far distance. All right. So possibly it is dark matter. We don't know what dark matter is. All we know is that it has gravity, all right? It has mass. So, and without it, our galaxy would have been spread out long ago. We wouldn't be in a galaxy, all right? So, this dense ball of unseen something, which sounds really poetic, actually. Anyway, this dense ball of some invisible material gives some kind of evidence that dark matter might be real. And it would suggest that dark matter is clumpy. In other words, it clumps together in one mass, all right? Most of the theories about dark matter actually predict this, so that's good, all right? So if dark matter is clumpy, then it's concentrated in irregular chunks distributed roughly across galaxies, all right? So, in any case, this discovery has been one of a kind so far. So it has not yet been published in a peer-reviewed journal. However, you know, we will actually see, hopefully, you know, look into this more and see if we can discover another one, which would be cool. All right. So eventually, Bonica wants to map out clumps of dark matter all across the Milky Way. So, so if we see something unseen knocking stars around somewhere else, then that's really weird, right? Then probably the candidate would go to dark matter. All right. So all this is to be said that she actually relied on data from the Gaia mission, which is a ESA, European Space Agency program, to map billions of stars in our galaxy and their movements across the sky. So that is kind of cool. And she also got more data from the Multi-Mirror Telescope in Arizona, which allows us to see which stars were moving away from the Earth and which stars are moving towards the Earth, right? So it is really cool. You should read the research paper whenever she gets that out. Of course, the presentation is actually, I believe it's online, since she presented April 15th, 2019 at the American Physical Society in Denver, Colorado. So, see if that works. Okay. The other thing I want to discuss here before jumping back into space cowboy / entrepreneurs is time travel. Why am I talking about time travel? Good question. All right. It's because I just like to talk about it, really. That's a terrible reason. But really, you know, I figured that there was a... So, I guess this is something just to note, that we are actually all undergoing time warps. So, historical lesson here. 1905, Albert Einstein published his theory of special relativity, right? Followed a decade later by his sequel, which basically changed how we ever perceive things, general relativity, which states that gravity is a property of the curving of space and time. All right. So the sun, Earth, is actually changing our time scale since it has gravity, right? So in 2007, NASA satellite known as Gravity Probe B confirmed general relativity with 99% accuracy by observing how Earth distorts the space around it. So for instance, and you might want to do this if you care about how long you want to live. If you're living on a high mountaintop, you'll actually be aging faster than your friends by the sea, where the pull of gravity is stronger, okay? So wherever the pull of gravity, where it's stronger, strong gravity, just know this, strong gravity equals slower time. All right? So if you want to live long, go to the center of the Earth. I'm kidding. You'll die. But basically, you know, get closer to the core of the Earth, all right? Get inside, all right? So so if you're out in on top of a mountain, you're going to die earlier, all right? But that's minuscule. You probably die, what, a few nanoseconds earlier. Who the heck cares, right? So that hardly matters. But what does matter is actually, okay, so that's one thing, all right? So that's strong gravity, slower time. The other thing is what? Move fast, slow time. That's special relativity. If you move faster, you have slower time. So you guys, if you watch sci-fi or read physics books or watch those popular, you know, science shows, you would know that if you get into a fast spaceship, you go to like, I don't know, 10% the speed of light, even just that, and then you come back, all your friends and family would be dead because hundreds of years would have passed by on Earth, okay? So all this is pretty cool, you might think, but what does that have to do with my life, right? It's like these are nerdy scientists doing their thing, or engineers or whatever. Well, it actually affects our lives all the time. It's because this is time all the time. Get it? It's time. All right? That was such a bad joke. Please forgive me. But GPS, that's why, all right? That's one huge area where it affects pretty much everything. Apparently, GPS satellites need to be really precise. If not, they're not going to give you accurate data on where you are. In fact, every GPS satellite and software incorporates general relativity in there, all right? The GPS satellites have to have super accurate clocks aboard each satellite. And in order to do that, the clocks measure time, and time is affected by gravity as well as speed. And Earth, Sun, has gravity and speed. The satellites are moving pretty fast. So in order for GPS to accurately report your position, the satellites have to take general relativity and special relativity into account when calculating the time. So it is important, right? So every time you're using everyday consumer here, I'm using my phone for GPS, Google Maps. If we're not incorporating general relativity or special relativity in there, might be like a few hundred miles off or something ridiculous. All right. So thank God that smart people have incorporated that into the global positioning system. All right. So before we get on break, I'd like to briefly mention how you can travel in time. All right. Well, traveling in the future is easy, as I said. Just move really fast or stay where there's a strong gravity and then get out of there. Right. But what about traveling into the past? Well, there is a theoretical bridge known as a wormhole, okay? or I think it's a Einstein-Rosenberg bridge. That's another way, fancier way to say it. But basically, it's like a black hole, except it has an opening and an end. So you go through it and you pop out somewhere. They use this a lot in sci-fi. And you pop out somewhere else, and in a different time or a different universe, even. However, theoretically, for that to work, you would need some kind of exotic matter to keep the wormhole open. Otherwise, it would collapse instantly. And now, what is exotic matter? Well, it's an unknown form of matter that is completely different from quote-unquote normal matter. It would need to have negative mass and negative pressure, which is something we have never seen, but that does not mean it doesn't exist. It just means it's exotic. Hence, exotic matter, right? That's what we call it. So if we ever discover or figure out how to make exotic matter, hey, we can probably make wormholes. I mean, we know that's possible. Okay, second option is cosmic strings. So cosmic strings are these super long tubes of energy that, if they exist, they would be extremely tiny. And two of these strings speeding by each other could alter time. So they can create closed curves in space-time that's basically like time machines. However, physicists think that you need an infinite amount of energy to speed up these strings enough to see this effect. So once again, they think it's not possible. My personal view on this is, I don't know. That seems to require knowing string theory. That's my personal view. So who knows? This world is weird, right? I mean, I've seen enough sci-fi to know that, well, it's science fiction, but a lot of times science fiction can be science reality. So who knows? I'll speculate some more off the show for now, but for now, let's take a break, and when we come back, let's talk about some of the stuff that's happening in the small satellite world. One of my favorite topics that I have not visited in a while. So let's take a break.
Join today. Get in action at weareA1.com.
Some of the other things you got going on.
Absolutely. So thank you for having me. I feel like I'm in the presence of like celebrity.
It's just the shades, man.
So I think like 2000.
Put your money where your community is. Get in the action. Action 1. Independent thinkers working together. Inspiring action in media. Get in the action. Inspire today. Join us by being a sponsor at weareA1.com.
Growing up as a black kid in New Jersey, all I ever wanted to do was be a pro athlete. All of my role models were black athletes. And every time I would stare out the window and look at the sky and wonder what I'd be in the future, it always had to do with me catching some crazy football and scoring a touchdown. When it came to the point that I was told that I would not be able to play on an organized sports team for the rest of my life, it was something that I really didn't even know how to stomach in the moment. And I remember walking out of my cardiologist's office and just sitting in the hallway and breaking down for a few minutes just because it was something that I just couldn't plan for and couldn't account for. And I realized that in that moment, my entire life was going to be changed. And all of those dreams and hopes and aspirations that I had were going to go out of the window.
All right, everybody. We are back to the studio. This is your host, Shenga, of the show SG2 on Space, the only weekly space show in Houston. Can't believe I forgot to say that earlier. Episode number 31. So this episode, we've been talking about the moon. NASA going back to the moon, 2024. Companies that were awarded, Blue Origin's Big Blue. As well as, before we went on break, we were talking about how there's a dark impactor destroying all the stars. Well, one particular star stream in our galaxy that could be a sign of dark matter, and we'll have to find out if that happens again. We also talked about distortions of space-time, how GPS is dependent on the fact that it incorporates general relativity and special relativity. So that's more of an educational lesson for you guys, right? Not really a news that we haven't known for a while. But that's all interesting. Now let's talk about some stuff about small satellites. All right. So SpaceX has been in the news quite a bit, but Elon Musk is somebody who likes to jab his hands into everything. I guess kind of like Blue Origin. Now I think about it. If you recall, a few episodes ago, we showed how Blue Origin just launched their rocket, right? Reusable rocket. Well, anyways, that aside, SpaceX is launching. Well, that has delayed a little bit. Is launching 60 what's known as Starlink satellites. All right. So SpaceX eventually wants to launch up to, wait for it, 12,000 satellites. All right, that's 1,000. We only have about 2,000 satellites up that's operational right now, 2,100 about. All right. So SpaceX wants to launch 12,000 satellites. All right. Why the heck are they doing that? Good question. So this is going to target basically people that doesn't have internet access. All right. And there's a lot of people that don't, reliable ones. All right. So maybe they have other markets as well. Suffice it to say, they plan to launch 7 launches of 60 satellite payloads. So each launch will carry 60 satellites. All right. So that's a lot. All right. So they don't want to wait until all 12,000 satellites are launched though. So it'll be active way before then. So once there's about 400 satellites or so, they should be good to go. All right. So Mark Junkasa, I don't know how to say his name, Junkasa, SpaceX's Vice President of Vehicle Engineering, says that 12 Starlink launches will ensure coverage of the United States. All right. After 24 launches, so what is that? 24 times 60. Okay, that's still a lot. Like 1,000. All right, over 1,000. Starlink will cover most of the world's population, and 30 launches would be sufficient to cover the whole planet. So, wow, right? With every launch, SpaceX will add about a terabit of usable capacity. All right, quite a lot. So, any case, SpaceX projects Starlink to have usable capacity higher than any single geostationary communication satellite in orbit today. And pretty much they think it will outpace any other publicly known low Earth orbit constellation in their development. So we shall see, right? I mean, if you imagine 1 terabyte with every launch, so what is that, 60 satellites? 1 terabyte, and they want 12,000 of them. 60. Okay, that's like what, times 200? I'm doing my math right. Yes, of course, 200. 200. So what's that? It's 200 terabytes. Assuming that's how simple the math is. I'm not sure if that's how it works, but let's just say 200 terabytes, right? So Telesat, for instance, which proposes to have a constellation of 300 satellites, will have 8 terabits of useful capacity. OneWeb, first generation satellite of 600 operational satellites and 50 spares, they're going to carry 10 gigabytes per second each, meaning the system should offer 6 terabits per second of aggregate capacity. So, I mean, that kind of blows them out of the water, but of course I could be mistaken on how I do these calculations. So, but suffice to say, they are going to have more satellites than these other competitors, all right? So each of these satellites is going to carry phased array antennas, and ion propulsion units that's going to run on krypton instead of typical xenon gas. Okay, so it's electro propulsion. All right. So it's not going to have inter-satellite links, but you will be able to use ground stations as relays. So like instead of 2 satellites connecting directly, they connect with a ground station and connect. So we shall see, right? They were originally going to launch the first 60 today, if you're listening today to May 16th, 2019. But unfortunately, due to the weather, it's getting delayed, all right? So it's going to be delayed for, I'm not sure when, maybe a few weeks. At that point, I mean, come on. This is going to take a little while, but I'm sure they can do it. This is great. So they're a launch company as well as a satellite company now, which is... And apparently a spacecraft company too. So all around, pretty cool. So I could go into a lot more detail, but let's not, because then the only people interested would be would be a few people. All right. So let's go to the other side of the world. Let's go to China. All right. So why am I talking about China? Well, because their first commercial company to launch something into orbit, first private company, may do that this week. Okay, exciting, right? Remember, there were 2 other Chinese companies that tried to do that before and failed, unfortunately. That was Land Space in October 2018, failed. That was a 3-stage solid propellant Zhuque-1 launch vehicle. And that's because its reaction control system anomaly 402 seconds into flight. Then there was One Space, failed on March 27th, 2019. And that, so now basically what is happening? Well, Land Space, not to give up, is trying to do it again. And not only that, there's another Chinese company called iSpace with this Hyperbola 1 rocket that's going to launch in early June. So what's different about Land Space? Well, Land Space has completed this is going to be for the Zhuque-2 launch vehicle, okay? So they have successfully assembled a liquid methane, liquid oxygen, okay? So that has been used before, all right? Liquid methane, liquid oxygen. But this is the first Chinese rocket powered by the Methalox. Metha is just methane. Lox is liquid oxygen. So it is going to have its first test flight in 2020, and it supposedly have the 3rd highest thrust level among commercial aerospace companies globally. So it's going to be able to carry 4,000 kilograms. So was that like about 10,000 pounds payload to a 200-kilometer low Earth orbit. All right, that's 100-something miles, and 2,000 kilograms to 500-kilometer sun synchronous orbit. All right, so that's pretty large for a small private aerospace company. So that we'll see. That's kind of cool. So Blue Origin, by the way, is using something similar. So all right, I mean in terms of its propellant for the BE-4. All right, so we shall see. All right then. Oh, and by the way, Land Space is well funded. They have $75 million in funding. Apparently, a lot of private capital, equity, venture capital going there. So, all right, all the serious stuff and blah blah blah. I need to tell you about something really serious here, which is that this is like the best part because this is the only part that I actually care to talk about for the whole entire show, which is about astrobiology, or rather aliens, like the aliens up there that sometimes come down here. Apparently some of them go to our moon. So according to self-titled UFO expert Scott C. Warren, he was looking at a photo of the moon's surface when some details in the photo caught his attention, and he had found structures on the moon that indicates 100% proof that ancient aliens did once exist on our moon. Okay, this video was showing a little bit, but that's a different thing. But anyways, point is, he found a pyramid in NASA photo PIA 13510. All right, so you guys, you can do a Google search, stare at it, and you can tell him, hey, I agree with you, right? I see the alien period. I see the alien structure on the moon, or not. Okay, personally, I'm kind of skeptical about that. All right. So he speculated that this pyramid is able, this is even crazier, is able to fly and move from one location to another. Okay, on the moon, all right? So it just so happened that the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter camera, the instrument NASA used to capture that photo, right? It captured that pyramid parked in that specific location on the Earth moon. So the next time it goes to that location, maybe it wouldn't be there. Very interesting, right? I would like to see that. Alright, so aside from this pyramid, Waring says he noticed a tunnel beside it. And the tunnel is shaped like a pipe, which is visible even without adding brightness to the photo. That's what he said. So, also, there's some structures that looks like it was abandoned in that area. And it could be some sort of quote-unquote space dump. Like you dump, aliens decide to dump their garbage on the moon, this part. Alright. So, who knows, right? Another photo, there's a structure representing a stealth fighter jet, and he thinks it's some kind of aircraft, and since it has a triangular shaped body and something like a cockpit. Oh, wow. And then there's a building shaped like a dish, and it could be a UFO. So, gosh, I mean, I don't know. It could be any of these, right? So, who knows? It's pretty crazy. But, look, who knows what to believe, right? Now, closer on to Earth, you guys might want to know that there's, I think it's the same guy, or it's one of his associates who saw some alien spacecraft. Oh, Jeff Woolwine, which also Scott Warren believes this is 100% proof that, you know, there's some kind of triangular shaped UFO that happened earlier this month. So let's take a look at this. You tell me whether that's an alien spacecraft going on here. Okay, by the way, just to let you know, this video was taken in Arizona. So this guy, this guy, he is apparently Jeff Woolwine is a leading UFO investigator. He spelled investigator wrong on his Facebook page. That already makes me doubt his validity. But look, there's no doubt he's seeing something up in the sky. He may just be like one of those, oh my gosh, there's aliens taking over the world kind of person. Personally, you know me, I'm not like that, but you gotta admit, sometimes you do see things up in the sky, and gosh knows what they are. So anyways, this guy, Jeff Woolwine, he's a former Ancient Aliens TV host. Ancient Aliens, right, the ones that built the pyramids on the moon. Got it. So, and he's a former World UFO Day ambassador, World UFO Day ambassador. That kind of makes me laugh. Anyways, I'm not discounting the validity of that video since, I don't think he would spend all his time, creating a hoax video. But, gosh, who knows what it is, right? That's why you guys have to look up, because, you don't know what you will see. You don't have to be this guy and misspell people's names and don't know how to spell investigator and put yourself as ambassador, world UFO ambassador, whatever that means. But you could be an intelligent, informed person who realizes that, hey, there's more to it in the sky than I know, right? What is that? It's not a plane. It's not Superman. All right? It's not a bird. It's not the moon. It's something weird. I don't know what it is. There you go, right? So, all right. With that, I think we're drawing to a conclusion here because, heck, I'm tired of talking. You might be tired of listening. All right. So this has been SG2 episode number 31, SG2 on space. And this has been your host, Shingun, held here at Action One Media Group, kindly hosting, providing the space for the show and all the other cool production. So follow us, facebook.com/The Shen Show, and follow Action One Media, facebook.com/Action One Media, or go to their website. Really, we are a1.com and their YouTube page. And that's it. Okay, YouTube and website. All right, Facebook is optional for them. So, alrighty. Okay, with that, I gotta say, you guys take care. Don't ever forget, look up, because you never know what you will see. Signing off.
Peace, brother Atum Ra, and you tuned in to Action One Network.